to Baghdad to see what they was doing there. And I went all the way to Baghdad to see what they was doing there. When I stepped down off that plane, there was trouble in the air.
You've entered the smoke-filled room, where we cut through the haze of Harrisburg politics and get to examine the laws and lawmakers that really drive the discussion.
Well, Representative Jake Banta, thank you so much for joining us today. When we started this podcast, the whole point of it was to help members share their stories. And you were the kind of the poster child of this, because I think you have one of the coolest stories out of any of the members. For those of you who don't know, you represent the 4th Legislative District, which is in Erie. Who are your constituents? What is your district? What's it like up there?
They're blue-collar working people. I think they got a big heart. They're driven. They're workers. My district, kind of the way it ended up when they, after the census there, it ended up kind of surrounding the other 3 districts. So it goes from lakefront in the east all the way down and around and up to the west lakefront. So it's a big kind of a U shape, and but largely they're all the same. Just guys trying to get by, trying to survive in this economy, and I feel, real naturally close to my constituents. I don't feel out of place with any of them. Each little municipality I visit, they're all kind of in the same fight to keep the bills at bay.
It seems to be somewhat of a rural area.
Very much so, and there's just a good group of people that when you go and you see a small business, you see that American dream, without sounding, so cliche, it is the dream of, I'm going to start a little business here, make some money, maybe make a little more.
What's the biggest industry?
Up there where I'm at, farming was for a while. It's not so much anymore. Manufacturing, there's some good manufacturers up there. Housing now, and there's just rural people out there. When I was a kid, it was very much more farming, not as much. I kind of try to stand up for that, want to... When there's a farmer, it affects everybody else there. The gas station, the fuel, the co-op, the machinery sales. So, anyways, that was a big part of it when I was growing up.
Gotcha. What was it like growing up there?
I just, I have 8 brothers and sisters. Wow. Grew up in the big town of Waterford, Pennsylvania.
Where are you in that mix of 8?
I'm second to last.
Okay.
And the great little town, but just a small town kind of community. Maybe we weren't so rich, I know we weren't rich, but maybe we were kind of poor, but I didn't know it. The way of life was maybe pick some potatoes in the fall after the potato harvest was done and put them in a cold cellar, and that was part of survival. I just thought that's the way it was.
Did you have any run-ins with Waterford Sheep Man?
That story goes way back, and by the way, we just got the covered bridge, which he's affiliated with, the covered bridge restored. Okay. So yeah, that's
who is the Waterford Sheep Man?
It's just it's a story that comes from our childhood, and the covered bridge was where supposedly people would see him, but it was just a. I don't know, what do you call it? A story as kids would make up.
It's a mythical creature.
Mythical creature, there you go. Really neat.
So how did you get into music?
When I was, 7 or 8 years old, I'm sure we had a guitar around the house. I fell in love with music. I think my first influence was probably, Elvis back in the 70s. But there was always a guitar laying around. I think I would compare it to my Xbox. Kids today, I just loved fiddling with it and trying to figure it out. And when you figure one thing out, you want to figure out the next. And I didn't see where I was going with it, but I just loved it.
What kind of music did your parents listen to?
My parents, kind of the old country, Willie Nelson or Johnny Cash and Marty Robbins. And everything along the way, John Denver, as the times, changed. And But my parents, my dad tried to play. He's an old farmer, shop guy. General Electric up there. My mom was, stayed-at-home mom and took care of 8 kids.
Did you take a liking to their music, or did you take a bit of a different route?
Yeah. Just we used to go to hunting camp, which was really fun, and we'd sit around, pick a song or two, and if I played one that was from my dad's liking or his era, certainly. And I do like those. There's only 2 kind of music. Let me just say that right now, good or bad.
Gotcha.
So it doesn't. I'm in love with so many different kind of genres. So yeah.
So why did you decide to enlist in the military after high school?
I was working on the farm. That's one thing my dad is. I would say if I was to describe my dad, he was a worker. My uncle took him fishing, I remember, one time, and he lasted about an hour in the boat and said, "I got to go home. I got something to do." So that's how you would describe my father. So he was a worker, and he used us to work on the farm. It was good for me. It was a good work ethic. I was milking cows before I got on the bus sometimes, and it was just a work ethic. But he was in the Navy in 1945 and on a ship, and I thought, well, I'm going to go in the Navy and just see some of the world. It's you get 3 squares and a little money, and you get to see the world. That's what excited me, and plus the movies. Anytime there was a World War II movie or Vietnam, Korean, movie, I kind of got, was kind of starry-eyed, and I said, those guys, I want to, they were heroes, and that's kind of what drew me to that.
So your dad, was he in the Navy after World War II ended? Or?
He was right there at the end of it, so he didn't really talk about it. I know he's on a ship. He was on the Juno, but that ship went down with the Sullivan brothers, if you look it up. But he was on the recommissioned one, so I'm not really sure what he saw as far as action and stuff, but he never talked about it.
Okay.
Just most of them guys didn't, right?
Yeah. How did you end up then joining the Navy SEALs?
It's kind of a funny story, but around 10th or 11th grade, I was in school. What am I going to do? Am I going to go to college? There was a local college up there, close to my house, and I was thinking about that. And then my vision was how fun. I'm in school now, but how fun would it be to see the world? So I literally went down to the recruiter and saw the book, and you leaf through the book, and the recruiters are trying to get you to sign up for what they need. Submariner or somebody, whatever rate it is. I just was looking through the book. I didn't know any SEALs or,
Did you hear about the SEALs beforehand? Did you know what they were?
No, we're talking about the 70s here, early 80s. So I didn't know anybody.
And they started in the 60s? Huh? And the SEALs started in the 60s?
The SEALs actually commissioned in 62, but UDT, Underwater Demolition Team, was during World War II, and they would swim into the beaches, place explosives. So at sea, air, and land. And the SEALs, I just saw it in the recruiting book, and I looked through all the stuff, and I said, this looks like it's cool. You get the skydive. I really didn't know what I was getting into, to be honest.
So how does that work out then? So you said that you signed up for the SEALs from the recruiter's office?
Well, you sign it. His job is to recruit you, get you in the service.
Yeah.
When you get to boot camp, they say, you can take the test.
Gotcha.
There's a physical test of swimming and running and sit-ups and push-ups and pull-ups, and if you do all those, they say you got a chance at this class. So that's how you get there. But you don't there was no. It's so well known now. It was very secret back then,
Gotcha.
or just nobody talked about it. There was a couple movies, from the 60s of Vietnam, but those movies were intriguing to me. Again, skydiving and jumping out of airplanes and scuba diving submarines and stuff. And I just thought, this looks cool.
So what was the timeline like? How long was it from the time you finished boot camp to the time that you joined the SEALs?
When I got done with the boot camp, I went immediately to what we call an A school, HTA school. It was welding and fabricating and plumbing and all this stuff. And then after that, I took the test in boot camp and I passed it. And I'm like, all right, I got a chance to go out there, and it's in Coronado, California, San Diego. I took the test, and I was waiting for a class, so I had to go back to Chicago, Great Lakes, where they have the Navy Center. and you wait for a class. So I was there about 6 months, and it was good for me because there was a couple SEALs there, and they just got us warmed up, ready, or tried to help us get ready for what we were about to go through.
So the tryouts for the SEALs then, I don't know if it was different back then than what it is now, but you hear a lot of stories about how difficult it is. Was it as difficult as it's made out to be?
The tryout or the training?
The tryout, I guess, it would be.
Well, there is a certain standard, and my understanding is they still keep to that. The basics, the way Hell Weeks run, and everything's run out there in training, and they really stick to that because they fine-tuned it to really develop people that they want to be there and they have that thing, So, like I said, I didn't really know what I was getting into, and it was certainly. But to answer your question, the tryout is just. It's a physical thing, but it's nothing compared to what you're going to go through. It's just to see if this guy can get there, and so.
So the training then, once you made it, was more difficult.
It's just it was very difficult. But I often tell people that I just said to myself, I'll die here. I'm not leaving. They won't make me leave.
Yeah.
That's what was my attitude. I'm
Gotcha.
honest. I don't care what happens. I won't leave, and I'll finish this.
So what did you do with the SEALs?
I was in SDV, SEAL Delivery Vehicle, Team 2 on the East Coast. And I drove a submarine. I was the primary pilot for our deployment. Went to the Mediterranean in the mid-'80s. Piloted this little submarine around with guys in the back, explosives and stuff, and it was an adventure. Yeah.
So was that the only? I guess I don't know how exactly it works for SEALs. Do you go on tours? Is it you're out there?
I did a short time really. The total enlistment was with the reserve and stuff is 6 years. I ended up 4.5 years in that, but it actually ended up giving me the opportunity later on after 9/11 as the contracting thing opened up, and I ended up doing another 18 years as a SEAL contractor. I contracted, but because I was a spec ops guy, I had that on my resume. That's how I got into that. So I ended up kind of using that background for my employment for 18 years.
So what do you think? How do you think your time in the SEALs differs from those who are in now?
Well, I'm part of the brotherhood, if you will, and people communicate about it. People that know way more than me about what the training is like now and what things are now like now. I would say, in some ways, it's not as tough, but also in other ways it is tougher. And of course, technology comes along, and we were using a map and compass back in the early days, GPS and everything now. So with the technology they have these days, that is going to advance your operating skills. But there's also the toughness side of it. You can't get away. You have to do the 5-mile swims. You have to go through Hell Week, and you have to do the pull-ups and the runs, and get hammered. By the instructors.
What are your thoughts on Secretary Pete Hegseth's push to change military culture recently?
I don't know him, but I have a real good feeling about him, meaning that let's get back to our standards. Let's raise our standards even better than they were, because I think that some of the military got off track there for a little while, and it is a professional thing that you go into, and you have a lot of pride and brotherhood and sisterhood. And I think he's doing a great job. The job as a soldier is to offer yourself and maybe give your life for your country, and he understands that very well.
One of the things you said about the SEALs is back when you were in, it was still kind of secretive. Not very many people knew about it. Yeah. What are your thoughts on the recent trend, especially since Osama bin Laden was killed, the recent trend of celebrity SEALs?
I think a lot of people in our brotherhood, if you will, are not happy with that. Mm-hmm. It's like anything. Eventually, if it's intriguing to the public, they're going to find out about it. But yeah, in our day, you didn't talk about it, or we talked about it. Mm-hmm. We told the stories around the fire. But now there's people monetarily cashing in on books. I mean, some people, though, are doing, I think, not bad things. They're doing positive things. I'll give you an example, Sean Ryan's show. He's a friend of mine. And he began the show just talking about the stories, because it really does tell what soldiers go through, what people go through in the war. Like I said, the World War II guys, my dad, they never talked about it, right? So the guys now talk more about it, but there again, some of the things, the public, I don't want to say they don't have a need to know, but there's just, it's war, and there's some stuff maybe, it's just training, the way when you deploy and all that stuff. It is always evolving, but it's just some of the things. Maybe it's just a trend we're going through now, and it'll come. I hope somebody's doing some really. I know that they are, and I hope they're doing good around the world. I don't need to know out here. I'm not in the teams right now.
Gotcha. Was it difficult going back to a civilian life after you were discharged?
A bit. I would say I made a conscious decision. I was going to go over to SEAL Team 6, which is now known as Dev Group, and then I met my my first wife, and I said I think I better get out and try the civilian world and try. Am I going to do this for life or not? And at the time I was like, no, I want to raise a family and get back to the farm. I kind of missed the farm, to be honest. So I went back to the farm, and so. The transition was that you are certainly you have a job, but you end up bringing that which you learned. My discipline from the military ended up, just kind of how you carry yourself the rest of your days. So bring that, you transition that over. But yeah, you're not required to shave and show up on, muster on time. But it's like you kind of are if you have a job, right? Yeah. You got to be on time and you got to look presentable. Okay.
So do you think, when you were growing up, being raised by a father who was in the military, I'm sure there was probably some things when you were being raised that you weren't particularly happy about with things that your father did, or with whether it was the way, punishments, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Did you find that then having kids after leaving the service, there were certain things that kind of came back where you're just like, I get it now?
I don't know anybody that probably doesn't, but I got discipline at home. Mm-hmm. I got it in school. I got in the military, and I needed it. We all need it. We need it. It's good for you. And then, it's tough when you look at the kids today. There's so many influences out there, and you have to be the positive one. You have to give them that discipline. You got to tell them, just trust me. I'm doing this for you, and it's not easy, because you want to be their friend as well, but sometimes you got to be their father.
I'm sure growing up with a Navy SEAL father probably is. I'm sure that father's probably a lot more tough than most fathers, even in the 70s or 80s.
Yeah.
But especially today, you see the trend of soft parenting coming to light.
Yeah.
Do you think that your kids, how do you think your kids differed because of the way they were brought up?
I have 3 sons. If you met them, you would know. They're all pretty tough guys. They're straightforward. I'm proud of them. They all, productive. One of them's in college, just got another year or so, and the other 2 are productive, got jobs. I got grandkids. My oldest son, he just built a house, literally with his own hands on our farm. Wow. Like I did, myself. I built a house there, he built a house there. Very proud of them. The discipline I gave them, they don't hate me for it. And sure they're doing the same thing. My son is with his sons and daughter, and you need it. We need it.
Do your siblings hate you for how high you set the bar?
No, I have great siblings that, in their own right, did things in their lives, whatever their occupation, vocation was. Yeah, they just did their own thing. But this is an interesting job. I like, being a representative. I really enjoy it. But when you show up at an event and somebody says all these accolades and all these wonderful things about you, the first thing I almost say is, I often say is, you don't know about all the fails.
Yeah.
I'm a state representative. I'm really lucky. I worked, and my people, my constituents believed in me. I got the job. Really proud of that. Trying to do my best now. Learning a lot. Same thing happened when I was in the military. Same thing happens when you become a parent. Same thing happens when you go to school. This is there's a bunch of fails along the way, and they don't define you. But I often tell people that. I tell kids in school that all the time. Don't if you think you're just gonna ride along. A good friend of mine, I'll make this quick, but a good friend of mine, we've become friends. But he's from my hometown, and he went on with a heck of a career in the SEAL team and many other aspects. But he said he came up to me at the beach one time when I was playing guitar for a concert, and he said, I'm going to be a SEAL. And I said, well, good luck. Yeah, I didn't mean to blow him off, but I was like, good luck. I don't know what to say to you, because I don't know that if you're going to go that route and you're going to make it. And now we joke about it. When he first said that to me, because he was like, yeah. He said, I was like, nah. Good luck, which I think is funny, which is true. It's accurate. I would have said, yeah, well, I don't know what to say about that. So, I think, again, to your point here, discipline is great for all of us, and the kids today need it. They need it, and they will love you for it.
Where were you on 9/11?
I was working at home, family, working in the oil and gas industry. Yeah, I was in shock. It was actually a turning point in my life. I was thinking to myself, well, I need to go back. I was a special operator, had a lot of training, and it's been years, but years had passed since I got out. But I'm still kind of the same guy. I need to go back. So it was dwelling on me for years, and by 2003, I would made up my mind. I was doing all kinds of things. I was making music with the band. I had a family, a farm, a job, but it was just eating away at me. And my wife said, well, you got to do what you got to do. And I was going back in the military, but then a friend called me and said, well, they have this fast track, which was all these contractors, and you'll get over there very fast. And it ended up being, with SOC and Blackwater and all them you read about or saw about in the movies and the TV now. But yeah, that's how that happened. And I ended up in I think early 2004, maybe January in Iraq.
Okay. So prior to 9/11 happening, did you have that? Did you feel that push to go back into the service, or was it?
I think it was 9/11.
It was 9/11.
It was 9/11. Yeah, you're just kind of going along. There's always conflict in the world. People don't understand that there's always something going on somewhere. There's some third world country that my brotherhood and other special operations and operators are going, and they're doing their duty. And I wish them the best.
What is a security specialist?
If you're in this special operators community, you have a resume, and then when they created Global Response Staff, GRS, which is kind of like in the Benghazi movie, those guys. And when they created that, they basically had some security guys, and how can we go do diplomatic work in third world countries safely? Well, they take a few of us along with them.
Gotcha.
And whether it was in Iraq or Afghanistan or any number of countries, they have to go there, and they have to go there safely. So they take guys like us to go along and protect them, and then eventually you kind of get, you become part of the, mesh together, you become part of the team together.
So you created your own security company.
Well, each one of us as a contractor, you will start your Banta Security
gotcha.
LLC.
Okay.
And,
so it's not like you hired other people. That was just your independent.
No, that would be somebody like Blackwater, and they're a subsidiary of the the government or the agency, and you ended up getting. They're the middleman, and they would say, I'm going to provide maybe 40 guys, a couple helicopters, level 7 vehicles. We're going to go to this country, and we're going to try to do our work.
Gotcha. So the other people that you were with, did they have similar backgrounds to you?
Yeah, absolutely. But it could have been other branches, Force Recon or Rangers. Yep.
What was some of the more interesting backgrounds that some of those people had?
Oh, it's just there's some guys that came into that. I was in the military for a few years, and of course through special operator, SEAL training. There was guys that have been in, with 20 to some years, there was guys, older guys that were in Vietnam going over there. So if you had that resume, you could go over there and they would find a use for you in that as a contractor. There's a lot of different missions, than you would be as a special operator in the military. There's different mission sets, and you're going to a country to try to stabilize it for diplomatic reasons and stuff, and you work with the Central Intelligence Agency often, and they're working over there to stabilize a country and deal with what's there.
So it was a lot different from your time in the SEALs then.
Absolutely.
What was the biggest culture shock going into that?
It wasn't really culture shock, but we had to develop those. We developed the SOPs, the standard operating procedure. You develop it as a contractor. I think Eric Prince, of course, with Blackwater was, he was just timing. It was a SEAL, and his dad had passed away. I think he took over their family company, had a lot of money, and he bought like 6,000 acres down there in Moyock, Virginia, and it was about, a training center. It's great for military and police, law enforcement. So after 9/11, that all kicked off. Well, it's an opportunity for him to train guys and get into this contracting world, which the best way to explain contracting, if I can here, is that for a conflict, we'll say in Haiti or somewhere where there is conflict, a country has to get the approval, and all these things have to happen to deploy soldiers there. As contracting goes, you can go there and help a country just with contractors, and it's I think less red tape that way. But you're still going into sometimes a very heated situation and a dangerous place.
Was it difficult getting back into that work after over a decade of not being in it?
I felt pretty natural. Some things I enjoyed my time in the teams, and I felt pretty natural getting back into it. But there again, I never stopped shooting in my life, and doing the other stuff. But this was, again, we had to develop the SOPs for that job, and so contracting really was in its infancy then in 2003 and 4. I began traveling over to these countries and trying to help.
So where were some of the places that you went?
Did a few years in Iraq. When I first got there, it was a pretty heated situation there. Ended up going to Afghanistan, several years there. Then another SEAL started a company, Trident Group, and they had maritime work, which is anti-piracy work. So I did that for a lot of years, over a decade there. That's how probably a decade of that. But
so you were security on
ships.
Yeah,
the Maersk industry has the shipping routes that about, most people know about, but they're always going over to the Red Sea and around all over. They're bringing taking stuff over there and bringing stuff back, and some of that stuff was sensitive material on the ships, or just there was. The piracy was $1 billion industry, and maybe I don't know where it's at now, but at 2007 or 8, it was pretty. They were getting attacked considerably. So you would have guys in boats with guns come up and board your ship. So they put us on there to stop that.
What are some of the biggest issues that you see coming up now that were that you kind of saw coming during your time in the service?
Issues as far as in the world.
Like was there anything that popped up that you're just like, I saw that one coming?
Well, I just I kind of always resolve back to what I grew up with and what we expect as the the American apple pie dream. Mm-hmm. You get a job and hopefully get a job where you're well enough that you can keep ahead of the car insurance and the doctor bills for the kids, and maybe get them a little something and make your mortgage payment. So that stuff's all standard. It's our way of life and our dream here. But what I saw when I was in the Middle East was some really poor situations, and to be honest, the media, I was not happy with the media. I just felt like were portraying the situation in a lot of these places in a different light. And, I mean, I understand politics more now than I did then, but, it's a battle in the, in the capital of two sides in the way the direction the country should go. So my concern, I guess, now would be the movement towards globalism or socialism. I'm a capitalist. I believe in the American dream, and I saw that over there, and I saw some really tough situations. Afghanistan was a very, very poor people, and I had a lot of conversations with them. I had a lot of, I figured, well, I'm here, I'm going to immerse myself. I'd learn a few words, and I'd talk to them and enjoy my time with them. But I went over there for several years, so you can't help but immerse yourself and get to know the people, the culture. And so to answer your question, it's just really about what the American dream was and how we became the greatest country in the world, and we have to defend that. We have to defend our idealism. And, we are a melting pot, but let's not forget the traditions that you and I grew up with that gave us that dream.
You still need the pot to hold it all together.
Yeah, we have the greatest country. We just have to hold on to those dreams unashamedly.
What is being as well-traveled as yourself and seeing the things that you've seen, what do you think is the biggest thing that Americans take for granted today?
Well, we talked about a little bit. The kids, you need to give them problem solving. You need to make it tough on them. The kids are soft. I mean, I'm going to tell you, I saw kids at 7 years old in Kabul in the winter with that sheet that they often wear,
Mm-hmm.
Not a good wool set of clothing like we have in the winter, carrying sticks. The Kabul was so poor that they cut down the trees for, heat. And so these kids were carrying sticks. I mean, it was just such a bad situation. Overgrazed, over everything. It was just awful situation. I saw a lot of our money go to infrastructure, and I was part of that, and I was proud to be part of that. Rebuilding buildings, putting up, planting new trees, trying to stabilize that area. And it was pretty tough because for years and years, it just seemed like the money keeps circulating over there and back. What are we really done and doing? What's the end game here? And I certainly am a soldier at heart, but at some point you're asking the questions, why are we doing this and why are we here? And I think that's what happened probably in Vietnam and some, other situations. Why are we doing this? And then in the end, when you give it back to the Taliban, and especially for Afghanistan, it was disheartening for me because I knew a lot of people really close over there.
For the kids who grew up with that soft parenting, that you said that they're missing that discipline, what can they do now as adults to help turn it around?
I think it's turning around. I think the pendulum is swinging the other way.
Mm-hmm.
The kids today, they want it and they enjoy it. I mean, just you challenge them, be tough on them, challenge them, and they respond. It's like me going to SEAL training. I didn't know if I was good enough to do it or tough enough to do it, but boy, when you come out the other side of that, say, hey, I got this, something here that says I did it.
Mm-hmm.
This is what kids need today.
So you think the people who are now adults that maybe didn't have that discipline growing up, would your recommendation be challenge yourself?
Absolutely, and challenge your kids, challenge yourself. The influencers out there would like to, change that. Not so much. We need that discipline. It's not bad for you. I needed it. I needed it, like I said, at home. I needed it in school, and I needed it in the military, and still today. We have to challenge ourselves. Again, going back to my kids, I was, pretty tough on them, but they love me, and I love them, and no regrets.
So you, at some point, and my first question is, where in the world did you find the time to do this? You toured with B.B. King, Leonard Skinner, Ted Nugent, Foreigner, and even recorded with Stevie Ray Vaughan. How did you find time to do this?
Well, I actually was really just having a good time playing music, my passion, on the side. And a job I had was bought out. And I was taking a $4 cut and lose my vehicle or whatever. I was, this kind of thing. And I said, well, geez, if I just played a few nights a week more, I could maybe make enough money. At one point, I was making, in the early 90s, mid 90s, I think I was making, about 50 grand a year, 1,000 a week, I remember, a grand a week playing guitar.
Wow.
And so a gentleman came along and saw me one time and offered me, I had different things where, in the music world, it's interesting, but I had an opportunity to go to New York City and play for a major record label. And I kind of had some interest there. And I had a manager, and he got a hold of me, and then he put me on tour. And I didn't tour with these guys, but I opened up for a lot of great acts. I got did 4 shows as Bo Diddley's band, or my band was his band in our hometown. I'm largely influenced by Texas blues, Stevie Ray Vaughan, that style of stuff. And so at one point, my manager ended up getting his band after, of course, Stevie died. His band, I got to go in the studio with them and record with them. It's just all part of the journey, and I was lucky to play guitar. I played A Day in the Garden, which was the original Woodstock site, 1999 on the main stage. There was a lot of shows that I just, I was living my rock star dream, but a part of me was still, I'm a very patriotic guy, and I was still, grounded in, my home and the farm and what was going on with the nation. And after 9/11, it was just at some point I said, I'm just going to stop this, and I'm going to do my part.
Who was the most unhinged out of all those people?
The what?
Who was the most unhinged out of all the people you got to play with?
Unhinged? You mean the rock stars?
Who are the craziest rock stars?
Okay, yeah. I see what I mean. I don't know. They just everyone had their quirks. When you let's say you start playing guitar or music in in your bedroom, like we all probably did, and then one day you're in front of 20,000 people, and it's you're being paid $100,000 a show. Those guys got to be a little crazy, maybe. And it's the world has changed, their world.
Kanye West once famously said, "It's hard to be humble when you're stunting on the jumbotron." So,
yes, yeah. And so, but then some of them were crazy, wild, and some of them were down to earth. Some of them were living that rock star life, which is can be dangerous as well. All this attention because you're going to a town and playing a club, and and of course drugs and alcohol abuse, and people kind of get lost in it. You want to be the rock star. You want to give them a good show, and so I was very mindful of that. And but yeah, I would say I don't know. Ted Nugent was kind of pretty crazy show. I think he shot his guitar with a lit arrow, on fire. Shot his guitar at the end of the show. I don't know how you're going to top that, but I opened up the show for him, thankfully. But it was just craziness, and it was a real good journey. Some of the best memories for me are just, a club with 50 or 100 people in it, and we were all feeling, and the music was on. That always made me feel good.
Who do you listen to now?
Just everything, anybody. I play primarily blues or blues rock style. Again, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jimi Hendrix. I know that stuff pretty well.
Who's your favorite active artist at the moment?
For sure, Stevie. I named my second son after him.
Oh well, okay.
My first son was named John because my first wife, and she was like, I want to name him John, and I said, well, we'll name him John Lee after John Lee Hooker.
Is there?
I don't think she knew, but yeah, John Lee.
Is there anybody you think out there right now who is kind of still keeping that movement going?
Yeah, there's a lot of acts, but every so often somebody's going to upset the cart, and that's what I like. Like Stevie did. He really opened up changed the blues in the genre. But I never ever want to see a band mailing it in. There's some really tight bands called tight, meaning you play so much and you practice so much. People will tell me this band is so tight, and I said, well, I like to hear that, but I like people that take chances. I think probably the number one guy of that was Jimi Hendrix. Might have been the drug influence, but he really I never saw him, of course, but from watching them, the videos and the people talking about it, he was just on another plane where he took all the chances. And I think some people are safe. When it comes to music, that's not my favorite thing. I want you to go for it.
So you don't have to name names, but is there certain artists or maybe even genres that you just can't stand?
Well, I'm like some people I'm biased about. I don't. There's very little rap I like, and it's only because.
What rap do you like?
Well, I don't even know. Once in a while something comes on. I don't listen to it, but there's something that comes on and it reaches me. I'm into music and tones. I'm very a stickler about old tones. I have old equipment, the old Fender stuff, the old guitars. So when you hear a lot of times it's a drum machine in a booth,
Yep.
and all this stuff is electronic. It takes away from the music. It has to breathe, So when a drummer comes around and goes back to the chorus or goes back to a verse, he may even slow down a little bit. In that, sometimes, if you're on stage or if you understand music, you'll know what I'm talking about. And I think the Allman Brothers is one of the greatest bands I've ever saw, and I watched from the front row, and I saw that. As a musician, I saw what they were doing on stage. It flows.
Yep.
That's something you want to. So again, as far as rap goes, if a guy doesn't have an appealing voice, which some Snoop or somebody does, I think it's cool. His voice.
You're a big
sounds,
Snoop Dogg fan?
Yeah, I think no, I'm not a big fan. I'm just saying that his voice is appealing, but
yeah.
some of them kind of not so much.
So we'll let's go back a little bit here, back into policy.
Yeah.
What is the Patriot Act?
The Patriot Act, I think, that's a tough one because it ends up being, we're patriots, right? Mm-hmm. But in some ways, it took some of our rights.
What did it do?
It gave them the power of, I think, gross power. I literally got into politics because of COVID.
Gotcha.
I said, this is crazy with the overreach, the mandates. I just thought it was, I went and picketed, the health center at home. I said, you can't do this to people. You're keeping Walmart open and the liquor store. It was really, really hurting the people. It created tension. I was anti-vax. I still am. I'm not. I'm a big fan of what Robert Kennedy Jr. is doing. I went down and saw. Well, I got invited to an event of his a month or so ago. I went down. I think we gotta follow common sense. Not a lot of this stuff is monetary. Mm-hmm. It's making people money, and it concerns me because I followed VAERS, for many years, and when it came out, when the vax happened, I followed VAERS, and I was seeing these reports from real people, and that to me is really it. In fact, I started the page on social media on Facebook, and Facebook it blew up pretty fast, and in a month's time they shut it off. Facebook just deleted my page, and I call. So as you recall, back then, if you said the word vaccine, you kind of got checked, red flagged. So I called it Real Injection Stories, and it blew up with people saying, hey, I didn't matter if I'm not against. Let me just say this. I went in the military. I took every vaccine, every shot they gave me. In fact, I remember I got sick from one of them. But the point is, I went and stood in line, and you trust this. And so the red flags for me were during COVID, and my friends were dying. Some of the people I know died from the shot. I will say that unequivocally right now that a friend of mine's husband, they both contracted COVID. He went and checked in, was put on remdesivir, and within a day went under, and within a week was dead.
Wow.
Pretty shocking. So that was a red flag to me. I'm not against or opposed anybody who feels different about that. If the thing I'm against is not having the choice.
Yeah.
That's the thing. If you feel you like rap, great, that's fine.
Yeah.
But if I tell you can't like rap or you can't like the blues, that's a problem.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people forget it was just last year that we started finally hearing about what was actually the full extent of what the Biden administration was doing with their coercion with social media companies, whether that was suppressing conservative speakers, COVID-19 information, or even the Hunter Biden laptop story just days before the 2020 election. Yeah. Do you think government should be involved in doing things like that, of coercing social media companies into suppressing speech?
Free speech. All those I will say this, after when I started traveling over there, one of the things you do, all the airports I went through, every trip would be, however long deployment, I would grab a book or two. And I remember distinctly Peter Schweitzer's Secret Empires. And they had all this stuff. This is way, way back, 18 maybe or something. I don't know when it was come out, 2018, maybe even earlier. But it had all this information, all this stuff about, the laptop and all this stuff. I'm like, holy crap, this is pretty, pretty compelling stuff. But being that I was traveling overseas and had another view of, let's say, Iraq during the conflict, or the Afghanistan, or Benghazi, I ended up in Libya, and a close friend of mine was on that. I was on that contract.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So when I would go to those places and see this, and then I would see the media at home and the distortion from the administrations, this is when the seed was set for the politics. And I'll tell you, the very day, the reason I'm here, a guy handed me one of the pocket manuals of the Constitution. Not the very day, but I can't remember what day it was, but a guy in the Middle East.
A guy in the Middle East handed you a United States pocket Constitution?
No, another contractor, another U.S. contractor. But he gave it to me, and I just, went back to my hooch, and I started reestablishing our constitutional rights, our Bill of Rights. And I was like, oh, man, we've gotten way off track here. It doesn't matter if you believe, if you're believing in the media and this stuff, but you need to be able to make a decision on your own. And when that changes, then it's tyranny. There's something going on here. You need to be able. So they were influencing everything in the media that I saw. Again, if you recall, you got put in jail. No, they put in jail. What is this? You're putting me in jail for saying something. So it was like, if it's stupid, people will realize that. If you're saying something, just is silly, let the people decide. But don't stop a page that I started, again, was real injection stories. I just want to know if people are getting sick from this thing. Maybe I'll get it, but I want to know, and I trust people.
Informed consent. Because
they're not monetarily involved. But if the company that's selling you a product is giving you all the answers, the stats, what do you think?
Yeah. So do you think that there should be a line then for government? So obviously the United States Constitution only protects people from the government, not private businesses. Do you think that those private businesses such as Meta, who control Facebook and Instagram, or businesses like Twitter, now X, do you think that they should be held to a similar standard of free speech on their platforms? And how do you draw that line of, letting businesses do their thing?
Yeah, I thought about that. In fact, I have a little piece of legislation I was working on trying to, let me express it this way. Let's say that somebody goes on and says something in malice or something damaging about you, or that you did this, and then somebody acts on that. Is that platform responsible in some way, or is that person that said that, and should the platform identify that person? Because there's a lot of fake profiles out there and stuff. This is all something that I think can radicalize people. And so, yes, we're in a new world where social media has actually become a lot of the media in good ways, because if 10 people in my town tell me something, I'm apt to believe them, whatever subject it's about, because they're just telling me what they feel. They're not, nobody's lobbied them to say something about this subject so somebody gains monetarily.
Do you think that media, whether it be traditional or social or new age media, whatever you want to call it, do you think it's a net positive or negative on today's political atmosphere?
I think it's positive. We need communication. one of the things I realized when I went to the Middle East, way up in the mountains, those people were shut off from the world. They thought we were the white devil when I got there. And then I became friends with them, but they were really largely shut off from, the Taliban shut off what they could see on TV. A funny story, I remember in our chow hall, if you will, they put up flat screen TVs and they put on, what was it? One of the shows with dinosaurs and stuff on it. And these guys were in shock. They didn't even never saw TV like that. They often had, restricted to what they could hear and see. And so it was kind of a shock to them. So but the point I'm getting at here is, yes, communication is key in all aspects. Out here, you got one side saying one thing and one side saying the other for their own personal gain. Let's let the people decide, and I think largely millions of people will give you a better answer, together. Those opinions will come out, and you're going to get the truth that way.
Do you think intelligence agencies have become too powerful?
The what?
Do you think world intelligence agencies, specifically American, the CIA or the FBI, do you think that they've become too powerful?
I don't think they've become. They've been.
Think they've always been that way?
Yeah, from going way back. I like often the subject comes to mind, or people talk about these days, conspiracies. So I like to think that if you are not questioning the narrative, then you're doing the wrong thing. So it's not.
Do you think it's an innately American thing to question authority?
I think that we need to. We absolutely need to question what they're doing. This is why our system is set for checks and balance. If you have checks and balances, you just. Dick Cheney was involved with Halliburton. Well, Halliburton made a lot of money in the Middle East and in Iraq. You can bet yourself that I was there asking myself after several years over there, are these people making money from this? What are we doing good for our nation and their nation? Which the taxes keep going up here, and those people over there. I mean, people at home used to ask me, what do those people think of you? So I went back there and asked them. I was in Afghanistan. So what do you think of me being here? And an Afghan, he said to me, "You're just the latest. We've been through other ones." And then another Afghan, he said to me, "I'm glad you're here because if you weren't here, there's no Social Security here. There's nothing. There's no way to. It's not about wanting a job. There's no jobs to have. So you'll literally starve." I will tell you this: that there was piles of scraps in the streets, meaning a whole neighborhood would bring out their scraps and put them in the street. And then, if you're starving as a bum, or somebody that doesn't have even a home or no food, they'll go to that pile. And so will the goats. The goats grazed in that pile because everything else was overgrazed. It's just a system. It is an eye-opener to what happens in these countries if we don't have the right leadership. It's so very, very important of our country to. And this is the mandates and the overreach that I saw from COVID is why I'm here. No other. There's no other reason. I never wanted to be a politician. Never on my radar. My dad, would say I hate politicians, and I remember him saying it. And I hope that while I'm here, in my time here, maybe I can change the views of some people in that. We just got to do the right thing.
How do you think that we reel those over powerful agencies, whether it's the CIA, FBI, whatever it may be? How do you think we reel them back in without destroying the American empire as we know it today?
Yeah. I think, when you Hegseth and Cash and those guys are trying to do that now. I'm not going to stand up here and cheer for our side up there because I don't know them down there. It's like people at home pretending they know what's going on. We know what's going on down here. But I don't know what's going on in D.C., and I know some of them people, but my congressman is Congressman Kelly. I like him. We get along, and I talk to him once in a while, but I don't ask him every day on every issue. I don't know what's going on right now in the House when we're talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene and the fight that's going on with her and the president. I don't know her, and I don't know him. So I can only speculate. But Communication needs to happen, and we need to listen to both sides instead of taking sides. And I think that's a tactic. That's a tactic to divide a nation. It's a tactic to move things in a direction, to divide the nation. So I don't want to sound cliche here, but I represent everybody, Democrats and Republicans up there in my district. My dad was a GE blue-collar working Democrat. I was a Democrat when I was a kid. I'm like, this is what must be what we are. As time goes on and time went on and our parties shifted in their values and what they were morality and all the things that we've issues, I'm like, I'm not that, for sure. And so I think it's just, you just need to do that. Communicate and decide what you believe in. And I don't want to sound like a politician when I say that, but you need to check those things. A guy, I went out to sign one of my petitions one time, and I said to a guy, my buddy, he said, "You want to sign this?" And he said, "I can't, I'm a Democrat." And I said, "Oh." He said, "Or I would, you're a friend." I go, "No problem, but you understand, party lines and things shift, and you need to pay attention." I'm just saying, communicate, pay attention to what's going on. I said, I'm opposed to a guy being in, the locker room with my daughter or my grandchild. I don't know if you're for that. And he said, "I'm not." And I said, "Well, your party is."
Yep.
So,
and we see Democrat leadership allowing that to happen here in Pennsylvania.
I'm just saying, buddy, if you understand, if you're paying attention, it's like the Browns and the Steelers. I'll never change that, and I don't care. The Steelers, half the players were, they took a new contract over in the Browns. Never change party.
Yeah.
I'm still.
Well, I'll tell you what. In that case, I'd still probably remain a Steelers fan.
And I get it.
But that's a little different, I think. But.
Well, it is. But I mean, the mentality, right?
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
Oh, it's just gosh, it's a label. Each party, and if your party is not doing what you believe in, whether it's morally and constitutionally, you need to get out and go to the other one. I'm not saying just mine or theirs, but right now I'm on this side because I believe in it.
Representative Jake Banta, thank you very much.
Okay.
Would you like to take us out with a tune?
Oh, all right. I saw children along their way with a hand up to their mouth. Well, I thought I was hungry once, y'all,